Hello everyone. In this video, I will be discussing the second learning objective of this chapter. Describe the process of identifying a target population and selecting a sampling frame. First of all, you can see that there are different stages in selecting a sample. For example, defining a target population, selecting a sampling frame. These two stages will be discussed in this learning objective, and the remaining will be discussed in the subsequent learning objectives. So after selecting a sampling frame, we will be choosing a particular sampling technique. Then we will plan how to select sampling units. Then we will determine sample size, then select actual sampling unit, and last of all, we will go to conduct field work. Anyway, so first of all, defining the target population. So first task we need to do in designing a sample is the target population. That means to whom we are going to ask our questions, to whom we will be sending our questionnaire. Apparently, we might think that selecting a target population is easier because probably we will be surveying students or parents or managers or journalists or politicians or so on. However, that might not be. For example, if we say that a company is going to introduce baby food, and what will be a target population? I know that different people will come with different target population. For example, some of you will say mothers, some of you will say parents, some will say carers, some of probably will say some other answers. So we have to have a very clear target population. And once the target population is determined, we have to have a very clear, operationally defined, a specific target population. Okay. And once the target population is defined, for example, as I said, the students or managers or voters, then we need to determine a sampling frame. What sampling frame is? Sampling frame is a list of elements or a list of identities from which actual sample can be drawn. For example, if you say that your target population is university students, then how will you actually select some university students? Now, you might be using email IDs, a list of email IDs, or list of student IDs. This list of email IDs or list of student IDs, that's a sampling frame. For example, if you say that you will be going for a pre-election survey, then voter list can be a sampling frame. Or the telephone directory can be a sampling frame. Okay, so sampling frame is basically a list of identities or list of elements from whom you will actually select your sampling units. Now, we need to understand one thing, that from target population, when we go for sampling frame, that means a more specific definition of our population, we actually incur an error that we call sampling frame error. What does it mean? A sampling frame error is when we go for a sampling error, we automatically exclude some elements because those are not listed in that sampling frame. For example, if you take a student email directory as a sampling frame, you exclude those students who do not have an active email or those who do not use university emails. If you use telephone directory, you automatically exclude the people with hearing impairments. If you take car registration, you exclude people those do not have a car. So that's a sampling frame error, that you are excluding some elements. Sampling unit, each element of a sample is called sampling unit. Now, it's not necessary that you will be using only one stage sampling and you will have only one sampling unit. Not necessary. You may have multi-stage sampling and you may have different sampling unit. For example, primary sampling unit, that's actually a unit selected from first stage sampling. Secondary unit is the one that's selected from secondary stage of sampling, and the tertiary sampling is the one that's selected from third stage of sampling. Now, is it necessary that third stage sampling is three-stage sampling is the maximum? No, it's not. Sometimes you may have 4-stage or 5-stage sampling. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you will survey some airline passengers. So your primary sampling may be select a particular airline. So Qantas, So that is your primary sampling unit. Now from Qantas, probably you will be choosing some particular flights. For example, London to Heathrow, Sydney to Heathrow, Sydney to Singapore, or Sydney to New York. Probably you will be choosing these flights. These are secondary sampling units. Now from each of the flights, probably you will be choosing some particular timing of, for example, morning flights or evening flights, weekday flights or weekend flights. That can be your third stage sampling. So in this way, sampling units can be selected in different stages. So this is the end of Learning Objective 2. Please see the next video for a discussion on Learning Objective 3. Thank you.